day to you, Guyana, and welcome to Facing the Nation. Thank you very much for joining us this week. This week, as usual, we'll be dealing with two issues. The first one has to do with the highest learning institution in Guyana, that is the University of Guyana. As you know, over the years, we keep talking about some of the problems plagued some of the problems at the institution and how we can fix these problems and fix the institution. And it's more or less we keep talking and talking and talking, and we still can't seem to get those problems addressed and those problems fixed. Today, I have the man, we're calling him the new kid on the block, who has, I know some of you would have read in the news recently, he has a list of things that he'd like to do, really, really good ideas. So we're waiting to see what that really would produce. But I chose it fitting to have him on the program today so that you can hear from him for yourselves all about the plans that he has for the University of Guyana. It is my pleasure to welcome to this program for the very first time the University of Guyana Vice Chancellor, Professor Ivelaw Griffith. Welcome, sir.
Delighted to be here, and hopefully I'll be here more frequently than not.
Oh, great. Well, viewers, you see, I'm getting somewhat of an invitation already, so I plan to take the professor up on that. Coming up also in the second half of the program, as you know, His Excellency, the President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, Brigadier David Granger, continues to talk about the importance of building up our communities and making them independent, our various communities, our tongues, and so on. So I expect to have a gentleman who has recently established a sewing company in the community of Buxton, so he'll be dropping by a little later on the program to talk to you about that. But for now, let's get to the University of Guyana.
Wonderful.
Professor Griffith, you were scheduled to have about 2 meet and greets since you came on as Vice Chancellor. Viewers, I should also remind you that the VC officially took up office on the 14th of this month, which would have been Tuesday earlier in the week.
Right.
You were scheduled for those 2 meet and greets, one in May and one in June. Have you been able to use anything from those occasions, not only institution, person, or sector that can help you with your plan for the University of Guyana?
Absolutely. The purpose of the meet and greets, and as you said, we had one on campus, May 22nd, one in New York, and it was at the tail end of the third symposium, part of the Golden Jubilee celebrations. Okay. And the purpose of each of those was to tell people interested in University of Guyana, some of whom are alums, some of whom are not alums, but have a passion for education, have an interest in Guyana. Tell them some of what I view as the challenges and opportunities.
Okay.
And enable some of them to find ways to begin to contribute to helping to fix, to helping to actualize some of the opportunities. And at each of those, not only did we have a robust attendance, I think there were close to 70 on the one at Turkine, and we had a little over 120 folks at the one in New York at York College, where I had the pleasure of being provost for 6 years. At each of those, I distributed my 12 areas of engagement, identifying things that individuals, whether you're Guyanese or not, whether you're an alum or not, can do, can help with, can contribute. Item number 1 on that list, I've established a Vice Chancellor's Fund for Strategic Initiatives.
Oh.
People can contribute money, and not only do we have an account set up, I asked the Bursar to produce an FAQ, frequently asked questions, which we've distributed along with that 12-item document to tell people, if you're in New York or Canada or Guyana, how can you contribute? How can you do not only money by check or cash, how you can wire? So I feel very comfortable that although we don't have $1 million yet in that account, maybe after this show people will feel spirited to want to contribute. That distribution of that 12-item document, opportunity created for people to find ways to give back, to contribute. And some of what is in that document, and I'll send you a copy.
Sure.
University of Guyana needs so many things, some of which is talent and expertise of some people, some of which is money, some of which is equipment. And I'll tell you two that are kind of talent connected to entrepreneurship. we've got, among other things, to rebuild the image of the university.
Yeah.
We've got to rebuild the credibility of the institution. And so I asked Mr. Philbert Gajadar, I said, I'd love to have you chair a little committee that designs some UG paraphernalia. Want to have a UG bow tie, UG scarf, UG umbrella, UG mug, UG t-shirt, UG pillow. Something that we can begin to enable students to get in the business of entrepreneurship with. Allowing the university to, there should be a place on campus where you go and buy UG paraphernalia. At the airport, I want UG paraphernalia to be available. When you come to Guyana, especially if you've not been here for a long time, you should be able to walk into any store and buy UG paraphernalia. There are so many Guyanese communities across this world where we should be able to lend that branding and image, but also do the entrepreneurship. So each of those meet and greets had multiple value added and outcomes.
Sir, I like you talked about the paraphernalia and so on, and the fact and branding, because really and truly, I think sometimes we forget that branding really is important. Great plans. I love it, and it's exciting me, and even as a student of the University of Guyana. How soon are you expecting to see the physical results of these plans, especially when it comes to branding UG?
Let me offer a general comment, which is related not only to the meet and greet and what they were intended to do. Some of what our university is facing with are deep, longer-term challenges, not amenable to quick fixes. Some of them fall in the category of what I call low-hanging fruit. We'll pick some of those low-hanging fruit. And I'll tell you what are some of the low-hanging fruits I'm hoping that we can begin to see manifested. Branding and other things. Part of what is the challenge of the university is low morale of staff, low morale of students. Mm-hmm. I am hosting tomorrow what will become an annual fixture of the university. I'm hosting the first Vice Chancellor's Father's Day brunch.
So it's actually happening
it's
this
happening
year.
Tomorrow. It's
yes,
tomorrow.
Because I
Father's Day.
Plan.
I said, let's ask the departments to invite fathers who want to come. People already will have had their items, programs scheduled. But we have about 30 fathers who say, I'd like to come. We'll build on that next year. From next year, I'm going to also have a Mother's Day brunch. I've been warned that there are many more mothers than fathers on campus. That, I'm hoping, Malika, is going to be part of the lifting of the morale. Here's one other thing which we're going to do by way of lifting morale. The very Vice Chancellor's Fund for Strategic Initiatives, what are the things we're going to do with the money there, focused on students? I'm going to host, beginning this semester one, a Vice Chancellor's etiquette dinner. I'm going to invite the student club leaders to have an opportunity to have a professional explain how do you comport yourself at a professional 6-course dinner. I'm told the person we need to hire is a principal of Carnegie. We'll find her. Some of the money from that Strategic Initiatives Fund is going to go to fund that dinner. That will be every semester one. Every semester two, I'm going to ask the faculties to name the top 100 students who are graduating.
Okay.
I'll host a dinner with them. The idea is to enable them to have a professional sense, and I'll invite each of them to bring a guest, whether mom or dad or a lecturer or your favorite person. Those are some of the things that are going to be able to demonstrate outcomes right away. And here's one thing else that is going to, the outcomes right away. Before you come back in semester one, you're going to see a different look to the face of the campus.
I'd like your confidence, Professor. I have people who tell me that I'm always pessimistic. What makes you different? And again, viewers, I'm not by any chance trying to take anything away from past administrators and vice chancellors and chancellors and so on at the University of Guyana. But I'm asking you, sir, what makes you different that you believe that all of these things can be achieved? Is it that you have a different approach, more support? What is it, sir?
I would answer that question in two respects.
Okay.
The difference has to do with the general national environment, and it has to do with me and what I am able to do, and I'll give you a comment on each of those.
Sure.
Irrespective of what political party you support, irrespective of what racial or ethnic or religious group you're part of, May 15 and the aftermath of May 15 has given many Guyanese abroad and at home a sense of something different,
Okay.
and wanting to use that difference as an opportunity to give back. Some are giving back by moving back. I have lots of friends who've moved back to Guyana, retired and come back. Some are giving back by contributing to places like the University of Guyana. I'm going to give you an invitation for an event next Thursday.
Great, sir.
Next Thursday, I'm hosting, thanks to the Minister of Education and the technical advisor to the Minister, Mr. Vincent Alexander, I'm hosting a reception that begins a resource mobilization conference. This resource mobilization conference is where I invited people in my network in the diaspora. 48 of them are coming, paying their own way, meeting with Guyanese in Guyana. The central question we're going to be talking about is how can we give, how can we help? So part of my ability and confidence in being able to do some things differently has to be seen in the context of the new economic, political, social climate, where people feel now is a chance for me to do something positively for Guyana. And so I'm using, and this is the me now, I happen to have the good fortune of a very great network in the United States, in Canada, in the Caribbean, in Europe. So I've begun to access my network. And each of those people, and actually I didn't want that many people, I wanted 20 folks from the diaspora and 20 folks from here. But Malika, you would not believe when some people heard about it, they said, Ivelaw,
It just came on.
how come you're not inviting me to this thing? So it grew from 20 to 50. But this week, 2 people had to drop out because of job. And each of those people, again, is paying their own travel. They're coming from California, Alabama, Georgia, New Jersey, Maryland, Grenada, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados. They're coming from Ohio. They're coming from Virginia. They're coming from places where it costs a lot of money
Yes.
to take 3 days out of your schedule, and that is the willingness. So I'm accessing my network, and some people at my network, I'll give you one specific example, 2 examples, cannot come but want to still find a way to give. I got an email last week, and I was only able to reply to it last night. Rosalind McClymont, top executive in the media field, business executive. Rosalind sent me this long email. She said, Ivelaw, I was waiting until after the Golden Jubilee to say congratulations and how can I help? She said, I'm not a UG alum. I left Guyana since 1965. I went to Bishop's High School, but I want, because of you and because of my country, I want to help. I said to Rosalind, here are 3 ways you can help. Help with the Center for Communication Studies at UG.
Yeah.
Help with that Vice Chancellor's Fund for Strategic Initiatives. And help with being part of a team I'm bringing in September to do a feasibility study to establish a school for entrepreneurship and business innovation. I haven't heard from her as yet, but I'm sure she's going to take up the offer, at least in 2 respects. And there are many people who've reached out to me, not part of my network, I don't know them. They're saying, congratulations, I want to help. One of them from Britain, never met the guy, he's the Vice Chancellor of the university there. Sent me this email. Vice Chancellor, you don't know me. I'm the Vice Chancellor of this university. I want to help. We were supposed to speak yesterday at 11 our time. We didn't get to speak. When he first sent me the email, I said, are you going to the Commonwealth Leadership meeting in Ghana in July? We can meet there. And he said, no. But I said, okay, because I plan on the way from Ghana to stop in London to meet a number of University of Ghana alums, and we'll have an opportunity. So people are like me, finding that the new political, social, economic opportunities of the change enables them, emboldens them to want to find a way to give back. And I'm going to use part of that network.
They seem to have just been waiting for the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Viewers, if you're now tuning in today, I'm having a conversation with the new Vice Chancellor of the University of Guyana, Professor Ivelaw Griffith. And of course, we're talking about his, and it's strange enough because earlier I said on social media that I was having a conversation with the professor today, and persons expected to hear things like the usual complaints that we hear, sir. Not enough furniture, animals on campus. And this is refreshing because your solutions are coming from a place of newness to many of us, and I'm sure that the viewers would appreciate it and appreciate hearing these different ideas coming from you and your plans and so on. Professor Griffith, you were recently quoted as saying that University of Guyana is a pillar of the nation's economic and social development.
Mm-hmm.
How can this position of yours be used to not only implement other areas of study at UG, but again, general modernizing of the institution?
Mm-hmm. 3 ways. We've got to be able to, and this is mindful of something that James Baldwin, that famous writer, said. In life, you're never going to be able to fix all of your problems, but you're not going to fix any unless you face them. We've got to face the challenges, and we've got to do something about fixing them. The challenges that USG have are not amenable to quick fixes because some of them are deep-rooted. But we've got to find an opportunity to fix the low salaries for academic and non-academic staff. We've got to find the opportunity to fix some of the facilities. We've got to find the opportunity to fix some of the basic services that are not there. And some of the basic services that are not there are harmful to the professionalism of the staff, consequently are hurting the economic and the educational enterprise that students should have at the university. So we've got to face and fix those. And I said this, I just came here from a little more than 2-hour meeting I had a town hall meeting with staff and campus.
Okay.
Some of the facing and fixing requires us to do some things differently.
Us meaning?
The university community.
The community, okay. Mm-hmm.
We cannot continue to have students having classes canceled and no makeup. We cannot continue to have lecturers not turning in grades. We cannot continue to have staff treating students and colleagues disrespectful. We've got to, and no vice chancellor can fix those things. There's got to be a willingness and agreement by the university constituencies to do it. And I said we've got to therefore adopt what I call either a Michael Jackson or a Shakespeare model. Michael Jackson said, "The man in the mirror." If you look in the mirror, who are you going to see? You see yourself. How can you individually help to do differently on those matters where you've got the power within your domain to do? How can you, if you follow Shakespeare, the star, fault there, Brutus, lies not in the stars, but in thine eyes. So there's some things that we have to face and fix. We've got to face them and fix them by partnering with the government. I had a wonderful meeting a few weeks ago, President Granger. I'll be meeting soon Minister Jordan, meeting soon Minister Rook de Rijn. At that business conference last week was Minister Patterson. He and I agreed that he's going to find a way, and so I'll be meeting with him soon to have some of the facilities. But the facilities and other challenges that we've got need to have other constituencies embraced. Local businessmen. I'm in the process of establishing something we're going to call the Business and Civic Community Engagement Council. I've approached Mr. Jerry Gavai to be a co-chair. He said yes. I've approached Ms. Patricia Backus to be a co-chair. She said yes, she's got to go to a board to get approval. And I said, UG is no longer a one-campus university. We've got to have a co-chair from Berbice. I have a nominee. The idea is to create an architecture that will allow us to reach out beyond the government. We cannot rely upon the government to do everything. So we've got to access those constituencies, including the alums. And so most of the 48 people coming next week to this conference are alums. They're not all professors. Some of them are established businessmen. Some of them are in technology. Some of them are in insurance. Some of them are in international organizations. One, IDB, very senior position, she's coming. Another one, Caribbean Development Bank, very senior position, he's coming. The idea is, how can we reach out and touch beyond the government to leverage what we need?
Because, and I'm happy that you're saying that, sir, because we seem to have gone into this culture. I think even maybe, of course, everyone knows that I'm obviously biased in terms of being supportive to the current government. But even before we had the change of government, you tend to, when these issues come up, the first thing you do, you blame the government. And of course, the University of Guyana is our highest learning institution here. So we say, the government is not doing this, they're not doing enough. And I'm happy that you brought that up, because one of the things I was going to really inquire is what sort of support are you expecting from government and from the private sector, and even to some extent the opposition, because you rightly said in the beginning of our discussion that this is everybody, this regardless of your political affiliation. And on that note, I'm going to ask you also about, you talked about the politicization of the institution at the level of the council. How do you plan to deal with that challenge?
Guyana and the University of Guyana has the good fortune of having a new chancellor. Very experienced, Dr. Nigel Harris, understands what should be the boundaries between policy and management. I will work, and I've made it publicly known, I will work with that separation in mind. Part of that separation in mind is enabling the various constituencies that have got representation in that council as to what my mission is all about, what is in the best interest of this university. And so I've already met with an important person in that council, clearly identify what my approach is, what is the best approach for the university. I was at a function last night, my wife and I met two important members of the opposition. I happened to have the good fortune of being friends with people both in the government and the opposition. And I said, look, I'll be coming to see you soon. Part of the project is talking about the best opportunities, the best interests of the university. I intend to tap into all political constituencies, but enable them to understand it is not serving them, serving us as a nation or the university to have a conflation of politics and academics. We've got to have academic freedom. We've got to have the willingness of the academy to be critical, and I said publicly on campus, free to criticize the government, free to criticize the opposition, free to criticize the vice chancellor, but do it mindful of respect and mindful of your responsibility to respect yourself and respect others. But I also know that, and I've mentioned this on campus and off campus, one of the things that the University of Guyana will need to do, and I am prepared to start doing it, is to enable our leaderships to have some professional development. When you become a dean, none of the deans, and it's no consolation to say that that happens at other universities, there's no professional development for the deans. There's no professional development at heads of department. There's no professional development for the council. There's an organization called the Association of Governing Boards. That's what they do. They help trustees, governing boards, councils know what their roles and responsibilities are. So we've got to help members of the council, we've got to help members of the administration understand the parameters within which they should be working. And not, and I said it on campus pellucidly this morning as well, it would be a mistake for any vice chancellor to allow, and I don't want to be that vice chancellor, to want to let the council do his job or to want to let the union do his job. I think we need to have a discrete sense of what are the professional spaces for each of those. But we also recognize, and that is one of the things that came out of the Transformational Task Force that Chancellor Harris established last year, our university is is captured in some archaic rules, starting with the statutes that established university in 1963. So we've got to modernize. We've got to modernize the regulations. We've got to modernize the laws. We've got to introduce some rules. And some of the people who come in next week are going to be helping us with those. What rules? How do we establish rules where they don't exist? Update others that exist. But the governance reform coming out of what the Transformation Task Force did last year is one of those things that will enable us to have an architecture that mitigates conflation of policy, which the council should do, and management.
Sir, a lot said, and we can go on. I know you have another conference to get to very soon, but just to push this in, you just talked about modernizing and lifting image and so on, and earlier you talked about morale. In your experience, based on not only studies overseas, but your work overseas, how important it is for the University of Guyana to become modernized very quickly. And of course, again, this is based on the fact that you have had experience and exposure elsewhere.
That question connects to a part of an answer I was going to give to the previous question. And I said this morning in campus as well. Any national university has to ask at least two questions. What are things about the existing society that the university needs to be involved in by way of training and development, by way of research, by way of enhancing the skills and talents of citizens and non-citizens? It also has to ask the question, where is it that the government and the nation want to go or are going that the university has to have a role in? So I'll give you a comment on each of those.
Great.
We have to ask, is it okay for a nation that is experiencing such significant crime that the University of Guyana is not in that helping to do something business? The answer is no. And so I've, in the process of establishing a team with a local and an international component, I've asked the Dean of the Social Sciences faculty, Dean Michael Scott, to head that local. I've asked Dr. George Dans, formerly a student of university, formerly a lecturer, he'll be among the 48 coming next week, pull together an international criminologist, sociologist. We're going to find the funding to help Guyana have a sense of what is it that we can do differently about crime. And I'm not interested in theoretical studies. We've got to be focusing on practical things that we can help the society to do. And the resolution of crime is not a police job. It is a whole society. So what do we need to do to help families? The institution of the family is unraveling in ways in which the crime, some of it is time, people are beating up their own parents, hiring people to kill their parents. So we can't ask the police to solve that. We've got to say, what might the family do? What might we help religion do? What might we help the schools do? But here's the second question. It is to me untenable that this nation is going in the petroleum and natural gas mode, and the National University is not asking, how might we be in that space? So part of my vision, and I've said it on campus and I said it elsewhere, not only am I going to be bringing a team in September to look at setting up a business school, I'm going to be bringing a team next year to look at setting up a school of energy and mines. If we have a mining industry for gold that is doing great but can do better, the National University has to do a better job in training current folk, technical, social, business, but also looking towards the future. It would be quite unfortunate if when we get our petroleum industry started up, that we have to import most of the technical and managerial skills. University cannot wait until the oil starts to flow. I know the Ministry of Natural Resources is doing something. There's a delegation from Mexico that will be coming next week to the university. So the university has got to be asking those two questions and responding. And some of the innovation has got to be in the context of what are things now need to be done,
Yes.
what no degree programs, what revision of programs, what pedagogy. Some of the teaching modalities that we are having at the university are 18th, 19th century. We've got to help our lecturers to be able to have a different pedagogical come into the moment,
this era.
which means we've got to provide them the resources to do the job. Some of the classrooms are not appropriate. Some lecturers don't have offices. There is no social space for students. There's no social space for lecturers. There's no social space for staff. I'll be bringing that group, and I'll be taking the whole conference first to do a tour of the Berbice campus.
Okay.
And then I'll bring them to do a tour of the Turkan campus. I want people to see the conditions under which students have to be laboring their educational journeys, under which academic and non-academic staff have to work. And again, it's not all amenable to quick fixes, but we've got to set the stage, picking some low-hanging fruit. And so in preparation for next week, each department and faculty was asked to construct a needs list. What do you need? And we'll have that list as part of the conversation next week. Daycare center was raised this morning. I said, put it on your list. Maybe some alum or some company can sponsor, adopt
This
university
would be for the campus.
for the campus. We need technology equipment. Put it on the list. So the idea is to enable people to see what the needs are, help them figure out where their passion and interest may be, and people who are going to be coming and who are interested in helping don't all by themselves have the wherewithal, but they may know companies or individuals. They may know individuals and companies that have grant opportunities. So it's how do we create a positive domino, enabling the students, the lecturers, the non-academic staff to have a better sense. I'll give you one final one. I was struck when I heard a couple of weeks ago, lecturers don't have business cards. I said, what do you mean? That is such an elementary professional paraphernalia.
That is required.
I was speaking at a department, a faculty meeting 2 days ago, and I mentioned that beginning this year, we have to find the money to have everyone to have a business card that they don't have to pay for. And so when I left the meeting, a lecturer ran out behind me. She said, Vice Chancellor, I'm so glad you're going to be giving us business cards. I just came back from a conference in Haiti, Caribbean Studies Association. I was embarrassed. None of us from Guyana had business cards. All the other people from different parts of the world, including the Caribbean, had this bare elementary professional paraphernalia called a business card. And our university is facing some even more rudimentary, basic things. We've got to provide those basic things so the lecturers can do their job, so the students can have an environment to do their job and do their best.
Okay. Sir, it was a mouthful. I really enjoyed this. Viewers, on this conversation, I'm going to put in your minds to be continued, because of course
To be continued, that's
yes,
for sure.
Professor was gracious enough to promise to return whenever whenever need be, and with all the plans and all the things that you heard him talking about, it would be necessary to have the professor on and to talk about some of those things as they become a reality. Professor
Good.
Ivelaw Griffith, thank you so very much for
Thank you
coming
for having
on
me.
Facing the Nation. It has been a pleasure. Of course, viewers, this is Facing the Nation. Stay tuned. On the other side of this very quick break, we will be talking about the Buxton community and sewing establishment that is basically new to the community and will contribute to the development and so on. This is Facing the Nation.